I just got done listening to the entire new release, the Judas Paradox, and what an album it is.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm sorry. I kicked over the phone on the stand and
That's okay. I've had
sorry.
big problems. So I'd like to talk to you first about the video that just came out this morning for the Judas Paradox. And could you have timed it any better with the fallout from the Olympics um, last supper? I mean,
Yeah,
it's almost like it's perfect advertisement for your album.
yeah. I thought the same, and I didn't know about it. I mean, I heard about what happened at the Olympics, and I thought like, okay, cool. So first that, and then our video on top of that.
Yeah, it's almost like you and Gojira just planned it to just roll right into your album release, which can't be nothing but help for you guys.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I guess the people who saw the Olympics and took offense of it or by it or whatever you say, I wonder if they're gonna see our video. So it's like a different group of people, a different target audience, so to speak.
Sure, sure.
So, but you never know. I mean, people search on YouTube for all kinds of stuff, and if they search for the Last Supper, they will find us as well, and they're probably not gonna expect it.
No, but I
So it's
tell you
kind
what,
of kind of funny.
if they like metal, they'll enjoy it. It's a great song.
Thank you. Yeah,
So with
yeah, it is.
the whole album is great, and I'll be honest, I love the first two releases because obviously I heard those first. But then when I went back and listened to your entire album, it's almost hard to pick one song out of the album that's better than the rest. It seems like it just flows from the moment you started. It's almost like you guys wrote for the album versus writing songs individually.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that we didn't plan anything. Um, I guess the guys were waiting for me to come up with the first song. And I mean, obviously, Asmodeus was released like 2 years ago as a single. It was our welcoming gift to the label for signing us, and we wanted to re-record it for the album anyway. But so the guys were waiting for me to come up with a song to know what they should do, and I came up with Hubris Anorexia,
Okay.
and then they were like, so this is the direction you want to go, and then everybody came with their ideas and their songs, and the funny thing is none of those songs relates to hubris anorexia. It's everything is completely by itself, but all the songs complement each other at the same time.
I,
And I don't know how we did that, but it just happened.
and it almost seems like a lot of bands, especially in melodic death metal, they like to throw artistic things in, and it's almost like they're trying to squeeze it in, whereas yours came naturally. Excuse me if I pronounce it wrong, but the Asmodeus, which is bookended on one side by the Black Heart, and then it flows right into, I think, the Princess, the Kashmir Princess, and I
Yeah,
believe like the that little 50-second interlude in between really breaks up, and it lends to more of a dynamic listen, like in a journey, versus just having like pounding song just pummeling you through the whole album. It gives you those little breaks, which makes the harshness of your sound so much more pronounced.
yeah, I agree. When we write an album and when we put it together, we try to think of the flow that a listener has when they start at the beginning and end at the end. We're not thinking about the people who just gonna listen to the singles only or to a playlist only. We're making the album for the people who want to listen to the entire album. And so when you do, and when you start at the first song and you listen until the last one, we will take you on a trip
Yeah.
where we take you in a certain flow where you go through highs and lows and different atmospheres and aggressive songs, more atmospheric songs. So we try to build it up for the listener, so it will be a pleasant experience.
I think the atmospherics really play well with your album. Like I said, I've listened to a lot of death metal where they throw that lighthearted acoustic or some atmospherics in it that doesn't mesh well. But like you said, it really allows it on a great journey. Now, I was talking to one of the previous interviews I did with Wolfheart had the same approach to their music as writing for the album, and does it change your viewpoint in writing with songs trickling out? I guess it wouldn't change your writing at all. Do you prefer now with the algorithm, the songs trickling out, giving you more eyes from the people, or do you prefer the entire album being released to listen at once, like the olden days?
Um, oh, that's a very hard question
And
because, of course, I'm from the olden days, and I'm maybe a bit old school as well. But at the same time, you know, we have to adjust to the modern days. Having singles out before the album is important nowadays.
sure,
So I'm not gonna fight it. I mean, but at the same time, I'm not gonna decide what the singles should be. We write the album, and that's our key thing. And then the record label says, okay, we would like to have this song as the first single, that song as the second single, that song as the third single, etc., etc. Because, you know, at a certain point, I'm not objective anymore. I heard everything so many times. I even mixed the album myself.
oh wow,
So, 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 um, so I don't know which song is good and which one is not, or at least which one is the perfect song for the singles,
yeah.
if you know what I mean. But so we write the album to be an album, and then the record company can decide the rest, and that's fine by me.
And now with Reigning Phoenix Music, transferring from, I believe, Metal Blade you were on prior to this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
how has Reigning Phoenix Music been so supportive? And I hear they're a wonderful label to be on.
yeah, they are. Metal Blade was a wonderful label to be on as well.
Sure, sure.
Uh, so that's what I keep on saying in every interview. We didn't leave Metal Blade because they didn't do a good job or anything. They did a really good job.
Sure.
But when you're at the same label for 25 years, you become part of the furniture, so to speak. We do an album and they put it out, and that's it.
Yeah.
And everybody tries the best, but nothing exciting is happening anymore at a certain point. Changing to a new label, like Reigning Phoenix in this instance, makes everything approach things with a new vibe, new energy. Everybody's like, okay, I want to prove myself to the label, and the label is like, yeah, we want to prove ourselves to the band.
Yeah.
So it brings a lot of good things.
I
So in
guess
that sense, it was a good decision.
yeah, and I guess it's a like a growth mindset for both bands now, or for both the band and the label,
Yeah,
which is a much more um, advantageous approach.
yeah,
Now,
definitely.
now with your previous releases, I've listened to your whole catalog. I can't tell you how many times over the last couple of weeks, and while your sound has changed from sometimes more melodic, sometimes more brutal, and it seems like you're trending more towards a blackened death approach now. Is there any gear that you keep with you as the rhythm player? I really appreciate the thickness and the crunch in your tone. And I've talked to some guitarists who have to have that one guitar, that one pedal. Is there one thing for you that you have to have?
Well, yeah, I play my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier since early 2000 when I bought it on tour in the US.
Okay.
Uh, I got that thing with me all the time, and yeah, it's my signature sound, I suppose. And yeah, for the rest, a good guitar with a good pickup, and I don't use any effect pedals at all. I just play straight into the amp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm very simplistic when it comes to that.
So what kind of pickups do you use? Because your sound is just thick, and
Yeah,
I compare it to like when you said Mesa Boogie, like Mark Morton also from Lamb of God uses Mesa Boogie amps. And I just saw them last week and his tone was very thick and crunchy too. So I wonder if that's coming from the Mesa Boogie or if that's coming from your pickups.
it's coming from everything, but mostly from the playing itself. The sound is in your fingers,
Okay.
and but I use Railhammer pickups.
Okay.
It's a US based brand. It's a very specific pickup. It's built for lower tunings, and it gives you a very heavy but bright sound,
Yeah.
very tight. So yeah, I like that a lot.
I tell you what, like it sounds like you hit that nail on the head. It's very, very heavy, but it's not overly distorted. It has like a really crisp sound to it. So good,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
And as I'm a newer guitarist, I've only been playing for about 2 years, so I've been chasing tone and chasing different sounds. So I can really appreciate just something so strong as yours. So I really enjoyed it.
Wow. Cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And it appears that like after you completed the three trilogy albums based off of the wars, that you went back to the religious and more of like the mythology and religion undertones. Is that something that you plan to continue with on this album too? I really couldn't make out all the lyrics. I was more interested in listening to the tone at the time.
Yeah. Well, after doing 3 albums about World War I, you know, a trilogy about World War I, I can tell you that nothing happened in the war. Everybody was just sitting in a trench,
Yeah.
shooting at each other, trying to survive another poison gas attack and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So after 3 albums, there was nothing to write about anymore. So, so I decided to go back to the roots. Band name is God Dethroned. We are opposing religion because of all the innocent people that died because of religion. Basically,
Of course.
that's why I founded God Dethroned. So, and we want to do something new on every album. We don't want to repeat ourselves. So on the Illuminati album, well, it already says in the title, it's about the Illuminati. It's about Freemasonry. It's about Egyptian mythology. And so on the new album, we wanted to pursue that. So the Judas Paradox is about, the common theme is that Judas is the betrayer of Jesus Christ. And I thought, like, is this really true or not? So I started doing research like I always do. And I found out, to my astonishment, that first of all, half the planet is thinking about this. What did really happen? Why do we see Judas as a betrayer? So even in the Bible, there's contradicting stories about Judas. One of the stories in the Bible is Jesus could look into the future, and that made Judas a victim and not a betrayer.
Sure.
So I decided to write the song from the perspective of Judas, where he describes that he was proud to be one of the 12 disciples, that he saw Jesus as his brother, etc., etc. And then, of course, he speaks about being scapegoated as the betrayer. And then when the clean singing starts, which is done by Dave, our guitar player, he speaks from Jesus to Judas and says, okay, my friend, there was this plan. I needed to die to return as king of the world, and you were the chosen one to fulfill this plan. And so this is my take on the biblical story.
Sure.
And so the other songs also have like themes like that. They're not interlinked. They all have their own theme. But the Eye of Providence is also about Egyptian mythology again. Things like that. It's all occult, Freemasonry alike stuff.
Now,
And
now when you say it like that, it makes me think like you've got me churning now. Like it, if Jesus could have told the future, why didn't he just go up to Judas? Hey, man, this is what's going to happen, and just it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah, that's true. But if you tell somebody up front what's going to happen, then they might do something else because they know.
That's a
You
good
know
point.
what I mean?
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
gives you a different way of thinking about it. I never really thought about it that way.
No, and neither did I, but I ran into it, and every religion on this planet has a take on what really happened back then.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different view and a different opinion about it. It's really unbelievable. I didn't expect that.
And it makes you wonder too, like if you see like any event that happens and there's witnesses to the event, say like a car accident, there might be 10 or 15 witnesses, and each 15 people have a different take on what actually occurred and who's at fault. And so now
Yeah,
you got me thinking. I might have to do a little bit of research now.
yeah. Well, it's a cool topic to read about actually. So yeah, do it.
It is, and I remember when I was way younger, I used to take through college. I took some scholar classes in different religions throughout the world, And it kind of made me look at religion completely in a negative or different view, such as like the God Dethroned, with the senseless murders, the senseless overtaking of countries. So, with you guys being around since I believe like 1990, 91, somewhere around there,
1990, yeah.
1990, the with being only a few years removed from the satanic panic of the 80s, do you find that your music and your topics are more well received now than prior, or
On one hand, yes. On the other hand, no. People are still offended by it. So that's actually a great thing.
sure?
It also works against us, of course. I mean, uh, if we would have had a different band name, we more people would have appreciated us and our music.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people who appreciate our music, but not our image,
sure, understandable.
even in the metal scene. So yeah, the band name is holding us back as well. So it's still a thing that people deal with and don't exactly like. You know, some people love it and some people hate it.
Right.
But I guess it's not a bad thing.
I agree with you there. I just thought like I remember I think it was Gene Simmons who said like just go ahead keep burning my records but keep buying them too, you know? And
Yeah.
so I always thought that like bands like that have names like God Dethroned or Slayer that uses such heavy satan or even King Diamond would be another great example. But I've always wondered how like moving from the night like I thought that the satanic imagery and the negative press might be press that would still push your album and imagery. I always thought that even the negative would still have a positive approach on your record sales.
Yeah, well, in a certain way it does. But you know, if you look at a band like Rotting Christ, for example,
Yeah.
they had the same problem like we had. They were from Europe, just like us. So in the US, they would look at them like, I don't know. And then it took years and years before they made an album that everybody liked, and then things started to go better.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a little bit of luck, and sometimes people need to understand you better, and sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You know.
Yeah. Now,
So
is that a problem that's more local to like the US? Because I read about like Nurgle having problems with Behemoth in Poland, but I've always thought of like a lot of European nations, and then especially the Scandinavian ones, are like more open-minded and maybe more accepting to things of that nature than the US would be.
well, it's true. It's true. Nurgle having problems in Poland is because Poland is very Catholic or Catholic, or how do you say that? And so they sued him for destroying a Bible on stage.
Yeah.
You can still go to jail for 10 years in Poland for doing something like that.
Yeah.
But what you just said about Scandinavia, that's very true. People there are much more open-minded and more into heavy metal, but nobody lives there.
Yeah.
Those are big
Cold.
countries, and hardly any people live there.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, well, it's yeah cold in winter and it's hot in summer, but nobody lives there, my friend. I mean, the people from Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, you can put them in easily in a city like Los Angeles. Those four countries,
Yeah.
the people. I mean, it's not that many people.
Yeah. I guess like us in the US, we don't really like we don't have an idea of the populations of the countries. You just see like the overall image. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize they were that sparsely populated.
Oh yeah, they are.
And especially because like especially Sweden, they pump out so many bands that you
Yeah.
think it has to be a huge country. But I guess they just have a lot of people into metal over there.
Yeah, too. Also that, but also the government stimulates making music. So rehearsal rooms are for free. Taking music lessons is for free. So many people play an instrument, and it means that the level of musicianship is so much higher there than in many other countries in Europe. And that's why so many good bands come from that country, because they learn at a young age to play well and to understand music.
That has to be a really rewarding way to live to have your government like support you like that. It's almost
Yeah,
like a safety net, you know?
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have that? Is it similar in Denmark like that? Or I'm sorry, the Netherlands.
And no, the Netherlands, no, 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 no. We don't have it like that. I mean, we get you can get some kind of support, sometimes like a little bit financial support for a tour, but there's all kinds of rules and regulations you have to comply to before you get any support. So we never get any support.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but um, but not like the Scandinavian countries. No, no, they have a perfect system, and in Holland it's everybody for himself, just like in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask Thomas from Wolfheart if Finland is the happiest country in the world, and Sweden and those countries, why are they so heavy? Because like there's so much like the music is so intense, but they're such a happy people, especially in Europe, all across Europe, really.
Yeah, well, I think Finland, for example, has the highest suicide rate in the whole of the world.
I didn't know that. I thought it was Japan.
No, I'm not sure, but I think it's Finland because it's so dark in winter. It's so
Yeah.
dark and cold. People get depressed. They drink a lot, and then people want to kill themselves.
Or make heavy
And
death, or make
actually,
black metal.
yeah, I'll make black metal. Yeah, and some people are lucky to get really creative during winter, so they have something to do, and then when the sun comes back up again, they can go out and play.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
like you just mentioned about touring. I'm sure there's going to be touring to support this album.
Oh yeah.
Is there going to be a US tour?
I think so. Yeah. First we're gonna do a European tour with Batushka and Ultimas.
Oh, that'll be
Uh,
great.
that tour will start on September 26th until the 28th of October.
Okay.
And I believe we should be in the US by the end of February.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. And we should have been there already last February, but that didn't go. That didn't happen because the headlining band had a problem with their visas, and so the whole tour was canceled.
Sure.
So I love the US, man. I really look forward to coming back and tour the US again.
Great. I hope you guys have Pittsburgh on your list.
Well, Pittsburgh or at least a city nearby.
Yeah, I'll have to swing that. I'll have to swing by and support you guys. And I'll bring all my
Yeah,
friends.
yeah, that would be great.
Is there
And
go ahead.
well, if you want to be on the guest list, just let the label know, and you can get a guest list position.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, of course, no
Yeah,
problem.
thank you. Is there any cities, even Europe, Asia, anywhere that you really love playing because maybe the food or some sort of experience in that city?
Um, well, you know, a funny story is I'm from the north in my country, so I'm in farmland basically.
Okay.
So people consider the people that live in this corner of our country as like not much going on, like simple people. The people from Amsterdam, they are considered to be the high society people of our country. So but when we play New York, for example, we played New York 4 or 5 times, I guess. The people there don't give a shit. They see God Dethroned on stage and they think it's great, and to them it doesn't matter where we come from, and
Sure.
that's what I like so much about touring in the U.S. There in the US, it doesn't matter from which country in Europe you come because they don't give a shit about it. But here in Holland, people are like, yeah, but you're from the north. You're not so special. And
Yeah.
and and that's why I like touring the US because in the US they value you because of your music and your stage performance and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a big reason why I like touring the US so much.
It has to be. It has to be difficult though to tour the U.S. logistically with getting visas and getting admittance to the country, and then once you do that, you have to find tour buses, and it just
It's
has to be
very expensive.
a lot more
Yeah, it's very
difficult probably too.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive. I mean, you need visas, then you need flight tickets, you need a tour bus, you need a driver, a tour manager, a sound engineer, and you need to travel everywhere. So yeah, it's not that easy, and everything is getting more and more expensive.
Sure.
So yeah, it's difficult. But the same goes for Europe. I mean, if we play a show somewhere and we look at how much money we paid for fuel going up and down, it's like fucking hell, that expensive? Yes, it's that expensive.
Then you throw
But
in meals and everything else on top of it too, like just your day to day living items like meals, hotels.
Yeah, yeah, everything. So yeah, everything has gotten so much expensive since the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's gouging. And then you start factoring in things like merch cuts, and I don't know if you guys have that in Europe where venues take portions of your merch
So
sales.
yeah, sometimes not as much as in the US, but it's getting here as well. They take a cut of your money, and yeah, it's terrible because they take a part of your profit away.
For doing absolutely nothing too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, I wish there was a better way that maybe musicians could like almost like unionize or organize and have some sort of coalition where that they could, have some sort of strength over like things like that, where they could bond together. Just
Yeah, I
haven't
know what you mean.
just haven't
I know
figured
what you
out
mean.
how it would work though.
Yeah, but you need the venues because without the venues you can't play. So if you would boycott all the venues, then where would you play?
Yeah,
You
but
know,
the venues can't make any money without the bands either.
that's true. That's true.
You guys have
I mean,
some sort of power and positioning over them, but they do over you too.
yeah, but there's also venues in the US who don't charge any money for merchandise sales.
Yeah,
So it's not all that bad. It's just certain cities, certain venues who take money. Yeah, that's terrible. It's really terrible. But what can you do?
yeah. I guess it just comes with the territory.
Yep. Yeah.
So with being in a band for 35, well, coming up on 35 years, where do you still draw inspiration from, like creativity to progress in new sounds? Especially with as
Oh,
many side projects that you've had in the past too. It seems like you're one of the hardest working men in metal.
well, yeah. Well, I put a lot of time and effort and energy into creating new stuff. That's true. And it is hard. I mean, after so many years to do a new album and to come up with new music that you haven't done before, trying not to repeat myself, trying to write lyrics that are good, and also not stuff that somebody else has already done before. Yeah, that's quite hard. It's
It
quite
has to
hard.
be.
Yeah, but at least the guys in the band, they support me. They come up with songs, they come up with lyrics, they come up with ideas. So I don't have to do everything on my own, which is a good thing.
So,
You
like
know,
you mentioned earlier, that you started with the first songs. Now, do you just show up with the rhythms, or do you write all the parts, or what is the songwriting process?
well, it's there's certain songs that I just write on my own from beginning to end, all the music, all the lyrics. For example, Jerome, our bass player, he comes up with a lot of ideas, and he says, "Henry, here's all my ideas. Just pick whatever you need." And that's perfect because I write a song, I need a riff, I don't have it. I look in Jerome's pile of riffs, I'm like, that's the
Yeah,
one I can use. I take it and put it in a song. So in his case, it means that 50% of all his ideas will never be used, but he doesn't give a shit. He's like, whatever I can do to contribute to the songwriting, I will do, and the rest, okay, whatever.
that has
Which
to.
is great. It
Yeah,
it, it helps me a lot. And then Dave, he writes songs on his own, or he takes some of my ideas, or I sit together with him, and then I say, "Hey, man, if you do it like that and that, it will be a lot better." And he tries it. It's like, "Yeah, that's a lot better." And then we create songs like that. So it's all kinds of ways. But you know, as long as all the ideas fit to the band, are good enough, then we can do whatever we want, basically.
I was listening to the whole album this morning, and I was thinking, like, I don't know how many albums are in your catalog. Maybe nine, 10. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
really.
think it's 2013 or something, I guess.
I started listening, and I'll be honest, I just kept listening and moving on to the next album. And that's when I started thinking, for as long as you're out, that you guys have been out, and as much as your songs, your albums have varied from more melody in some, the war to, they're just so diverse. And
Yeah.
then with the challenge of creating new stuff, it seems so hard. Like Illuminati was such a strong album. Like, how do you take it a step further? But I'm sure with having an arsenal, like a guy who doesn't care that if you only use half of his ideas, that has to be a great, great help.
It is. It is. It's perfect. It's perfect. And yeah, if people have no ego and just think about the big picture, like the band, then you can do anything. And if people are having an ego and want everything that they compose to be used, and half of it is crap, for example, then you get nowhere. So everybody needs to try, work their best, come with the best ideas, and then say, okay, man, you're in charge. It's your band. You know what's best for us. You know how to put songs together that are great. You do the rest. If we can work like that, then we will always put out a great album. Always.
Well, this one was great too. So rest assured, it sounds phenomenal.
Thank you.
Um, so when you guys write, do you write together in a room, or do you guys like swap riffs over the internet? Um, I know there's a
Yeah.
lot more advantages now with technology where you guys don't all have to physically be in the same room, which I'm sure in the 90s you probably had to be.
Well, actually, until this album, we were always together in the rehearsal room. At least me and the drummer, and sometimes the other guys as well. But this album, for the first time, we didn't even see each other. Not during songwriting. Well, it's not entirely true. I saw Dave on a few occasions, the guitar player. I saw on a few occasions to work on stuff. But the drummer, we never worked together with the drummer this time. We just recorded ideas at home, sent it to each other, and then he played his drums, and then we recorded the rest. And the whole process was done on a distance. Everybody worked from their own workspace, and then when everything was recorded, they sent everything to me, and I mixed it, and that's it.
Now,
It was all the modern way this time.
but so as basically like the mix, since you mixed it, did you like the fact that it was done that way, which it maybe allowed you a little bit more control?
Well, for the first time, I could make a mix that I really liked. I didn't this time. I didn't have to explain what I wanted to somebody else who was doing the mix. This time, I could just do what I had in my head and didn't have to talk to somebody else to get it right. And I there's not a lot to complain about many of the productions from the last, let's say, 12 years. But, I have an idea in my head and I wanted to have it, to make it sound like that. And if I can do it myself, then I don't have to explain it to anybody. I can just do it.
Sure.
And I like that way of working, to get the sound that I want
Of course.
and no compromise.
Now, is this your first album that you've mixed for God Dethroned?
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was listening to Illuminati, and I think it sounds really similar. Not so much the music, but the production value of it. So it was almost like Illuminati flowed right into God Paradox, or the Judas Paradox. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
so the
Well,
mixing. I thought you had used the same mixing and the same production as the previous album.
no, the previous album, I was there during mixing. So I was in the studio. It's not far from my house. I know the guy for a long, long time. And we sat together and did the mix together. And that was in 2019. So then I was not on a level that I could do it myself. But we did the mix together. So I guess my ideas came across and he made it like that. But during the pandemic, I was sitting at home. I couldn't go on tour, so I was learning the mixing process more and more, and I tried different things. And then I did the first Asmodeus single, like from 2022, and I thought like, okay, this is pretty good. And then we recorded the new album, and I mixed it again, but I was on a so much higher level. And that's why we wanted to re-record the Asmodeus single again, because I wanted it to be top notch. And so during the pandemic, I learned to master the mixing process, so to speak.
Sure.
And but I wasn't on that level when we did the Illuminati album. But I was there when it was mixed. I was sitting next to the guy who was mixing it. But then I had to bring my ideas across, and this time I could just do it myself. But I guess the fact that you think that the mixes are so similar, I probably managed to get my ideas across in a proper way.
Yeah, I think to me, I really enjoy guitar work, obviously. And so I thought it was really neat that on both of those two albums, it seemed that like we spoke earlier about the crispness of the guitars. The rhythm is very crisp and tight, like you mentioned. And when the leads come out, whether it's a solo or just a lead riff, it's really clean and it doesn't just jut out of the mix. It kind of just flows out. And I thought that both albums, you got to give yourself a lot of credit because it's just produced and mixed really, really well. So I thought that you used the same engineer, but I could see now how you would have a heavy thumbprint on that too.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
So what do you enjoy more now? Because now that I started doing this channel, I really enjoy the editing process. Do you enjoy the mixing more than the playing, or do you enjoy the creation of the writing process of the music versus the actual refining of the music?
I like both. I like creating songs, but I can only do it once in every couple of years. I
Sure.
need time to recharge. I need time to find new ideas, new riffs, new songs. So, but I can do the mixing. I can do mixing like every day.
Yeah.
So I mix a lot of other bands nowadays.
Okay.
Bands who come to me and ask me, "Can you mix our single or can you mix our album?" That's what I do nowadays,
I'm
and I love it. I completely love
I'm gonna have to email you and get a list of bands now and see which ones you've mixed so I can check them out.
it.
But
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll reach out after this. You can give me a list and I'll have to check them out for you.
yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're running out of time. So I'd really like to thank you for your time taken with me today. I really appreciate it. And it was great to get to know you.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Likewise.
Yeah, and I wish you and your band the most success. It's a phenomenal album, and anybody who watches this needs to check it out as soon as it comes out. I'm so excited to spread the word about it.
Thanks a lot, man, and thanks for your kind words. And hope to see you on tour in the US somewhere like early next year.
Yeah, for sure. As soon as you announce it, I'll start making plans to come see you.
All right, man. That sounds good.
Thanks for everything, Henry. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. You're welcome.